Hi, my name's Caroline Whytock. I'm a wealth manager and I graduated 10 years ago.
Yeah, thank you. And why did you decide to study at the University of Aberdeen?
So on their open day, when I went to go and look around, it was a very nice sunny day, which
Hmm.
I think definitely worked in their advantage. But for me, I'm from Edinburgh. I was just looking for somewhere that was far enough away from Edinburgh, but not too far. It sort of ticked those boxes, really.
Yeah, interesting. And what are some of your favorite memories from Aberdeen, like from maybe social part of it?
Um, I was into hockey, so I really enjoyed Wednesdays, of course, liquid Wednesday nights. Those were very good fun. Um, that was my main sort of side. Yeah, the course was great.
Yeah.
Made some really good friends from there, which I'm still friends with now. It was a really good campus. I had a really good time at Aberdeen. I thought it was a nice city that was sort of small enough that you knew everybody around. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
And you had early internships at firms like BlackRock, Russell Investments, and Brewin Dolphin. And which of those experiences had the most lasting impact on your professional development?
Yeah, so I was really lucky that a few companies were happy to have me in for work experience. Really, it was a week's work experience in a number of different firms. It gave me quite a good broad insight into different areas of investment because at that point I knew that I was interested in investment. The previous summer I had worked in an accounting firm. So my degree was accounting and finance. I'd originally thought I wanted to do accounting. And not that I didn't enjoy that summer, but it made it clear to me that it's probably not what I wanted to do as a career. So getting a chance to do a few different weeks around different places was fantastic. But the standout one for me was Brewin Dolphin. They did a more sort of formal insight week. So that was really well structured, where they had people coming in to talk about all the different areas and sort of educate us on the different parts of the business, but also gave us some time on the desk with investment managers. And that's where I got a good understanding really for what they do. And it became quite clear to me that I was really interested in the sort of people side that came along with that. Some of the other work experiences that I did, whilst very insightful, it was clear that it was a lot more sort of data driven or sort of less relationship uh, kind of managementy. So yeah, Brewin Dolphin really stood out to me.
Thank you. And you've grown your career at Brewin Dolphin from trainee to associate director, which is very impressive. And what have been some of the most important moments or milestones in that journey?
So two in particular. One is there's quite a lot of exams that you need to do in order to become qualified to be an investment manager. So you've got your original set of sort of lower level ones, level fours to get through, which were not too bad. And then the next set of the level sevens were quite grueling. You can only sit them every 6 months. So it was a real milestone to be able to tick past all of those and not have to study again, which was a big relief. I definitely felt that high for a couple of years. And then another one was actually becoming relationship manager and having the direct relationships with clients. So for the first number of years of my career, it was very much supporting other people in the management of clients. So I would go along to meetings, but it wouldn't be me sort of running the meeting myself. And so that's another big milestone really was being able to have the conversations with clients and make plans for them and what's best for them, but based on my sort of knowledge, rather than just serving someone else.
Very interesting. And you're especially interested in personal injury trust. Could you please share a little bit about that and why it's meaningful for you?
Sure. So the personal injury trusts differ quite a bit. So a lot of my clients are individuals, and so you're having that direct relationship with the individual. But personal injury trust is something that I got really interested in quite recently, actually. And the difference there is it's a trust, and it's quite often set up under quite sad circumstances. It's not like an individual where they've maybe had a big inheritance or won the lottery, or they've, worked hard and saved up for their pension or savings. Instead, it's something quite sad that can often happen, whether it's an accident or medical negligence. And so they set up a trust for those individuals, and you have to manage things quite differently then. Sometimes the individual themselves can be involved. Other times they don't have the capacity to be involved themselves. And you're dealing with family members, trustees, they can be professional. And it's very different in that it's not only you dealing with the different individuals and you've got a bit more nuance, there's lots of empathy and a softer side to it. But as well, when you're managing that money, we're looking to try and get that pot to last and give that individual everything that they need over their lifetime. But they're not looking to pass on money to the next generation or anything like that. So we're having a look at, would they be able to work? What their anticipated flows in from that might be, what their requirements might be for care, buying a house, having improvements to the house, that sort of thing. So you're trying to manage the flows in order to match up with exactly what their needs are. So it's quite different than an individual who it's much more based on maybe what they want the money to do for them. They might have their own plans and ideas for it, but with a personal injury trust, it's much more about looking to support that person.
That's very interesting. And do you have any advice or like methods you use how you build a relationship across with your clients who are like maybe from like different generations and have different like understanding about like how finance works?
Yeah, sure. So I think a lot of clients, they can possibly look very different on the face of it, but actually when you speak to them, maybe they have got quite similar wants and requirements. And so with that, I would say when you're looking at people from different generations, you might make an assumption that someone who's younger might view things one way or another, but actually they can be very similar. So I don't think the age falls into it a huge amount is what I'm really trying to say there. But one thing is, I suppose, with younger generations is that they're less experienced, and so it's just a case of being able to explain things on a really simple level to try and help educate them, and they maybe need their hand held a little bit more in the first couple of years just while they get a good understanding of things. But equally, you can have older clients who maybe haven't had wealth until they're, could be in their 50s or something. And this is the first time that they're dealing with it. So again, it's very similar for them, having to sort of educate them through things.
Interesting. And how do you stay ahead of all the regulatory changes and like any updates in the field?
Well, Financial Times is always the first thing that's opened up in the morning, just to have a look and see what's been going on there. Um, Always keeping on the pulse with any sort of government announcements and changes that we might see in legislation that might impact pensions, that sort of thing. But really, we have to do continual professional development, CPD. And that's actually quite a good way to keep on the pulse with things, keep up to date. But you get to choose sort of what you're getting involved in. So we might have fund manager meetings we can go to hear directly from fund managers themselves on what they're doing, what their thoughts for the future are. It's quite good. You can sort of hand select ones that you're more interested in. So I'm going to one next week on US technology. So it'll be really interesting to get a bit of an update there. Also, I'd say we work with other professionals, so maybe solicitors, accountants. And so if there's any changes that they see coming through that might impact us, then we're quite good at sort of communicating and maybe running seminars and things for each other there.
Interesting. And how do you see technology affecting the role of human advisors in private wealth management?
It's a good question. It's definitely one that's quite topical given how much sort of AI has taken off recently. I think the main thing is there's going to be much more focus on advice. And so maybe less so on the investment side itself and much more on providing all the advice around it. Because a robot can't really help you navigate potential changes that you might have coming up,
Mhm.
unforeseen changes to your financial, your personal circumstances in the way that we can as humans, which can maybe provide a bit of explanation and help sort of guide things in the right direction there. But I can definitely see why AI investing could pick up in the future of robot investing. Sort of, there's been more of a move into investing in indices and things rather than necessarily direct stocks or funds. Those have their advantages, disadvantages. So yes, I think it'll be much more based on actual advice that you can give to people around their personal circumstances.
Interesting. And looking back at your career so far, what was the proudest moment in your career?
Um, Something that I've always been quite proud of, quite passionate about, is trying to get ladies interested in investing. So I've done sort of seminars, presented at events. I've been uh, I can't remember the word for it, sort of guide to groups for the future assets competition, which encourages schoolgirls to try and get involved in investing. Running the Insight Week here at Brewin Dolphin, just trying to educate young ladies really and really try and encourage them to consider wealth management as a career because it still traditionally has quite a lot of males. And so anything I can do to raise a bit of awareness and try and encourage girls to get on board with it as well is something I've really proud of and passionate about.
That's very impressive. And what advice do you have for students who are looking to get into wealth management after they graduate? What should they focus on while they're still at university?
Yeah. So I think having sort of looked at CVs and things in the past, you can really see when somebody has a genuine interest in investing or in client relationships, I would say, because for me in my role, client relationships is such a large part of it. And so it's the small things. It's getting involved in societies which might be involved around investing or finance. It's trying to get any sort of work experience that you can so that you can show that you're giving up your time to go and try and learn from someone. Even going for coffees and things with anybody, any sort of connections that you can make to learn a bit more about the area. You can get yourself in the front of their mind. So maybe down the line they might think, oh, we're hiring for a role, and I remember that I spoke to Caroline. So that sort of thing's really good. One step further, if you're really keen, is even having a look at some of the professional exams that you can do out there, really just to show as a wee starting point that you are starting to think about it and it's something that you're genuinely really keen on. I would say that degrees don't matter in terms of what the subject matter is. So I've got lots of colleagues who did geography, history, that sort of thing, and that's not too important. It's really showing what the extra bits are, which are the important bits.
That's great advice. And are there any books or like podcasts you would recommend as well? It might be something career related or maybe non-career related, maybe something that motivates you or inspires you.
That's such a good question. I wish I had an answer for that off the top of my head. I'll have to come back to you on that one, I'm afraid.
Mhm.
Having a bit of a mind blank now.
And so a lot of students are struggling with stress, whether due to academia or some like personal things. And what advice do you have for students who are dealing with that?
Dealing with stress. I suppose everybody's individual in finding what works for them as a way to sort of calm down. For me, I love to be outdoors and getting a bit of exercise can help, but I know that it can sometimes be really difficult to sort of split away the feelings of stress from sort of day-to-day life. Certainly, I can relate to when studying that feeling of it hanging over you never really disappears no matter what you're doing. So I suppose, yeah, trying to block out a little bit of time that you can allocate to something that's important to you, yoga, reading, whatever it is, and maybe trying to be quite firm on keeping that sort of appointment with yourself to have a wee bit of a de-stress for a bit.
Thank you. And the last question is, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Okay. Um, I think I would advise my younger self that if everything doesn't work out smoothly and exactly how you want it to work out, maybe not exactly what you envisaged, or there might be bumps in the road, but actually it's all a learning experience. And I like to think that because of any little bumps along the road, um, I'm now a better person for it. I've got more knowledge. I've learned things really. I've built resilience, that sort of thing. So not to worry about it and that you'll learn from mistakes.